Welcome to the best of 2023 part 1. Today we're doing a drugstore edition. These are the best drugstore makeup products I discovered in 2023. So I've already done the worst of the year. I will do my high-end favorites next. You'll see that in a couple days. But I'm gonna start a playlist down below with like this little wrap-up series. So you can check out the worst of the year on that. You know I love the drugstore. And the way I do my favorites videos, I only include my tip-top favorites. So if I do not have a favorite in a category, we just skip it all together. So I would never pick like, oh, this was the best foundation if it wasn't actually a standout to me. I only pick the tip top. So in some categories, we have nothing. And in some categories, we have multiples. But let's kick things off with the top spot concealer of the year. It naturally has to go to this one from Flower Beauty, the Get Real Serum Concealer. So I've been a fan of the Get Real Serum Foundation since that launched, probably in like 2019. And this year they came out with the corresponding concealer. And the concealer actually is quite a bit of a different formula than I would have anticipated based on the foundation. The foundation is very thin, almost like water-like texture. This, I would say, still is a thinner consistency concealer, but not as much as you would expect based on the foundation. I find for me, this has a really nice level of pigment to it, so it sits really smooth on the under eyes while providing a good amount of coverage, but it's not like heavy. I would say this reminds me so much of the very popular Tower 28 mascara that went so viral this year, but for me, this has much better wear time than the concealer from Tower 28. They both just sit so nice and natural on the under eyes, so definitely check this one out. I have mine in the shade Vanilla. Originally, I had the shade Fair, but that one leans like so peach. It's kind of weird, so Vanilla is my go-to. Okay, I have a couple of blushes this year. I feel like the drugstore nails it with blush, especially powder blushes. Like, so many of my favorite powder blushes are from the drugstore. But I want to start off with these two from Catrice. They came out with their AirMatt blushes recently, and they're actually like two different variations in this line. So this is the Air line, and there's a shimmer version, and there's a matte version. I specifically want to give this award today to the matte version of these blushes. Not only are they highly pigmented, but they're also very smooth on the cheeks. They have this really almost like blurring quality to them because they are so matte, but they're not matte in a flat way. They have this really natural like satin finish to them on the skin. I don't even want to say satin because that implies some amount of glow, but these are just like a matte that is not powdery looking on the skin, you know? And the shade in particular that has really just wowed me is this one called Peach Heaven. I found myself wearing this like almost every day during the summer, and I've been saying I think peach is going to be really big in 2024, especially because Pantone just announced peach is their color of the year. So if you were looking to get a really inexpensive peach blush, this one retails for $6. It's phenomenal. I even think like the packaging feels nice and like sturdy for the price point. So love these from Catrice. My other favorite comes from Catrice's sister brand, Essence, though I did break mine. So that is the first call out I want to make here. I end up breaking so many of my Essence products. They tend to be so fragile where the like hinges, but this is a baked blush formula. Similar, not identical, not a dupe, but similar vibes to the Hourglass Ambient Lighting blushes in the sense that it's that really blurring, baked finish. It has a little bit of glow on the skin. I would say this has some noticeable sparkles. That's kind of the difference between this and the Hourglass ones. I think those are a little bit more refined in terms of the finish, but for the $6 price point, this is one of the best options if you want a glowy cheek. You know, if you're familiar with like the Milani baked blushes, the super viral ones like Luminoso, super similar formula, but half the price. So I found myself wearing this shade, especially Shimmery Rose. This is the lightest one. It's such a beautiful pink. It just like livens your face right up. It's like highlighter married with blush. You can kind of eliminate one because they're combined. So I just love this blush so much. Sticking with Essence favorites, I have quite a few from Essence, and funny enough, I mentioned a lot of Essence favorites also in my worst of the year video. But this brow gel I have fallen in love with, and I've always been a fan of the Essence brow gels. The Make Me Brow was my favorite for years there. This I would say is a very different formula, but this is called the Thick and Wow Fixing Brow Mascara. I have it in my brows today. It's very tinted. I have the shade Caramel Blonde, which I think the name caramel implies it's going to be much warmer than it is, but I would say this is actually more of like a nice taupe shade in the brows. So this formula provides a nice hold. I wouldn't say it's the most durable hold ever. Like if you have very unruly brows, I don't know that this alone will be enough for you, but I also don't find it too heavy. You know, I have very thin, sparse, fine eyebrows, so a lot of the more heavy duty brow gels literally do the opposite of what they're supposed to do. And my brows like fall immediately. You know what I mean? They get very weighed down by those strong hold, like super strong industrial hold brow gels. Whereas this one I think gives me just enough hold, but it also gives a nice amount of tint to the brows. The only downside for me is the spoolie on this. It's a little bit chunkier than I would like. I really love a small, tiny, precise applicator, but I love the product. So a large spoolie is a small price to pay. I think the spoolie still is effective at like picking up the product without getting like too much globbing on there. So even though it's larger, I don't think it impacts my ability to apply it. You know what I mean? Okay, another Essence favorite. I feel like these do not get the attention that they deserve, and I just want to shout from the rooftops about the eyeliners from Essence. So this is their new formula, the Stay and Play Gel Eyeliners. This is a phenomenal formula because when you first apply it, you have a few moments of give, you know? You can smudge it if you want, if you like a smudged out look. You can kind of like swipe it out to create a wing. You can do whatever you need to do, okay? If you feel like it got a little messy, you can clean it up. You know, you have a few minutes of wiggle room there. And then a couple moments later, once these are set, this is about as budge proof as it gets. I have tested this out during like super hot, humid summer conditions. It's not going anywhere. This is such a transfer proof, smudge proof eyeliner formula, and it's only $5. That being said, I feel like Essence, $5 is kind of higher for Essence for an eyeliner. In the past, their liners have been like $2, but I will say completely worth it. Like some of the best eyeliners I've used, regardless of price point, like this performs better than most of my high-end eyeliners. Like I'm constantly reaching for these. All right, the e.l.f. Lash N Roll Mascara was one of my ultimate favorite mascaras from the entire year, again, regardless of price point. This is one I will preface by saying you have to be into a more natural lash look to really enjoy this product. If you're looking for extreme volume, you're looking for like a false lash effect, I'll tell you now, that's not what you'll receive with this mascara. But if you want a gorgeous separation, everyday natural lash look, I think this is like the ultimate mascara at such an affordable price point. For me, I would compare this. It is so similar to the super viral Tower 28 mascara. I would say if you took that and you turned the knob down a little bit on the intensity, you know what I mean? It is a slightly more subtle version of that, but the amount of separation and length and like definition that gives my lashes, I'm getting from the e.l.f. one as well, but for a fraction of the price. So this comes in a couple shades as well. I really did enjoy the brown in this, but you know, I'm picky about my brown mascaras. So if you want like a true chocolatey brown, the e.l.f. one is a little bit more of like, you know, it appears black on the eyelashes. I don't think it translates as brown, but I love this. It has a rubber bristle curved wand. That's my favorite type of wand for a mascara. I just think I get so much lift out of this. My lashes are separated. And if you're a multi-step eyelash like mascara person, do you know what I mean? If you are, you know what I mean, where you start with one mascara and then you do a second one. I really think that's how you get the best lashes. You got to do multiple mascaras. It's a lot of work, but like high risk, high reward, you know? So if you're into the multi-step mascara routine, this is the perfect step too, because the wand on this, it like combs through them so perfectly. There's not going to be a clump in sight. I love this mascara. And it wears well. It wears really, really well. I don't get smudging, flaking. I love it. Let's talk drugstore eyeshadows, starting off with the Milani Whiskey Business palette. Do you remember the hold that this palette had on me this year? So we have 6 matte shades. And this, I believe, was kind of intended to dupe a Charlotte Tilbury palette that has an almost identical color story to it. If you're a matte eyeshadow lover like myself, you like a simple everyday look, you love a lot of brown shades going on, this is the perfect palette for you. The amount of times that I reached for this year, the amount of trips I brought this on, this was like the palette I could not stop using in 2023. I'm surprised that I don't have like a bigger dip on some of these shades, though I will say, like, you look at this and you can tell it has been well loved for me. This, again, I was reaching for over all my high-end eyeshadow palettes, specifically like this shade right here, perfect in the crease. And if I wanted a slightly warmer look, I'd take this one. This year for me was all about just like one matte shadow looks, you know, taking one softer, warm brown, applying that into the crease, calling it a day. This was my perfect palette. I was reaching for to do that. And then you have these deeper browns to do like a nice shadow wing. I just think this had everything I needed. I was reaching for it so much this year, and it's $10. So I cannot recommend this highly enough. They also have other variations of this palette in different color stories that include shimmers, but I've heard pretty bad things about the shimmers from this line. So the one I'm recommending is specifically like this color story, Whiskey Business. That's all mattes. But if you want shimmers, let me talk about this one. I feel like a fraud, but I fell in love with the Bare Necessities palette from Colourpop this year. When Colourpop started doing these big mega palettes, I was like, you know, I don't know. That's way too many shades. I was not excited about the return of like the giant palettes like this. And then this one in particular, I feel like there was such a long period in 2023 where I used nothing but this palette. Like, do you remember? There was like a period of a few months there when every video, like if you were to go into my description box, I always list what I'm, bumping into stuff, but I always list what I'm wearing. Every single time it was Colourpop Bare Necessities. I just feel like this palette has so much range. You could go purple, you could go smoky, you could go everyday, you could go warm tone, you could go cool tone, you can do glam, you could do simple. Like, yes, it has a lot of shades, but it also has a lot of variety. I feel like if you were wanting to have one singular palette that you could do anything you ever wanted with, it would be this palette. I know, like, it's a lot of shades, and maybe if you have a very large eyeshadow palette collection already, maybe it wouldn't be adding anything new. But if you want one palette that you could just do anything with, you could take anywhere, have every look you ever needed, it's this one right here. And I was reaching for it so much. The shimmers in this, incredible. When it comes to lips, I want to talk about these from Milani. These are the Fruit Fetish lip oils, and they introduced new shades in 2023, and these ones are a bit more nude, a bit more brown. So originally they had maybe like brighter, pinker shades. I had the pink one, they have an orange one. And this year they came out with a lot more like neutral options. I loved them before, but now my obsession with them has only grown. These are some of the best, actually, this might be a bold statement, but I think these are the best lip oils. They are my absolute favorites. I reach for these over all my high-end ones. First of all, look at this chunky, juicy doe foot. This is what I like to see. I like that this has such a large surface area. The application is so easy. And these all have different scents. That feels so luxe to me. So this is the shade Blackberry Agave. Smells like that. This is the shade Honey Fig, and it smells like that. I think having the individual scents that correspond to each shade just elevates the experience so much, and I feel like we don't see that often at the drugstore. Like, there's a high cost associated with having a separate scent for every single color, and I love that Milani went there. I just feel like these are this is like literally a high-end product at a drugstore price point, okay? Even the packaging, I think, is luxe. Milani just nailed these. I use them all the time. I think they're so good. I loved them before, and now that they've come out with even more of them, like, I'm just always reaching for these. And, you know, they're a bit more sheer. They look, you know, it looks bold in the tube. You're like, oh, that's a really deep red. But no, it sheers out so beautifully on the lips. So you can kind of adapt these depending on the lip liner, or if you put another lipstick underneath. If you're a lip oil lover, these from Milani, I'm telling you, they're some of the best. No, they are the best. These are the best. Okay, other things. Skincare and fragrance. Let's talk skincare. Starting with a sunscreen, I debated if this goes in the drugstore video because the price point is maybe almost high-end, but you can buy this at Target, so I'm kind of considering it drugstore. But the Naturium Dew Glow Moisturizer SPF 50 is the best of the best. I'm pretty much out of this. I feel like I've been like rationing out every little bit that I have, but I just need to go repurchase it because this is truly the best sunscreen that I've found. It applies, funny enough, like you see it and it looks like a white paste. And when I first used this, I was like, oh my gosh, this is gonna give me such a cast. There's no way this is gonna blend out. It looks thick and globby. No, it is like magic the way it disappears into the skin and it sits on the skin like a moisturizer. It does not feel greasy. It does not feel like you have this thick film. It does not disrupt my foundation or any makeup products I put over top of it. It is the most user-friendly sunscreen I've found. It's hydrating, so it kind of like, you know, it eliminates that extra step. I like any sunscreen that I can use as a moisturizer. I love this so much. It is truly the best sunscreen I've ever tried. Highly, highly, highly recommend the Dew Glow. This next one is empty, and this will be the third bottle I have gone through, but don't worry, I have a backup already waiting for me because I cannot be without my Peach Slices Azelaic Acid Serum. Okay, my sensitive skin, but still acne prone people, this is for you. I have talked about my acne journey many times on my channel, especially with tretinoin. Tretinoin has been like a game changer for me. But having such sensitive skin, a lot of the products that are targeted towards fighting acne are very harsh, and my skin cannot handle much. And this is like the answer for me because this is so gentle on my skin, but azelaic acid is one of the best ingredients for acne. So it's in their redness relief line. I think that entire line is phenomenal. It's great for sensitive skin. It's really targeted towards people that have both sensitive skin or rosacea. I'm telling you, this stuff I can't live without, especially when I travel. That tends to be when I break out the most. Anytime I'm flying on a plane, I refuse to travel without taking this with me because I'm like, this is my secret weapon. I'm like getting on the plane or like before I leave, I'm like slathering this on, especially my forehead. That's where I break out the worst. And then when I land, I'll get to my hotel or wherever I'm at, immediately wash my face, put this on. I'm like, this is going to save me. This is going to prevent the breakouts. And it does. Highly, highly recommend it, especially if you have sensitive skin. This is like holy grail status for me. Okay, a cleanser that I fell in love with this year. I feel like we don't talk about cleanser too often. It's one of those like less exciting steps in a skincare routine, but it really is like the foundation of a skincare routine. And I don't like to spend a lot of money on a cleanser, okay? I will always opt for a drugstore cleanser. It's very rare that I would repurchase a high-end cleanser. And if you are the same, this one from The Ordinary, one of my favorite cleansers. This is new. It is the Glucoside foaming cleanser. So they had another cleanser before, but they came out with a few new products this year, and this was one of them. This, again, very gentle, but I feel like it is effective as well. You're getting a lot of bang for your buck. This is 5.1 fluid ounces or 150 milliliters, and for $12.50, like that's so inexpensive. So been loving this cleanser. I feel like, okay, also love that it's fragrance free. So many drugstore cleansers that I find have fragrance in them, which I don't mind fragrance as much in a wash off product, but I still do try to avoid it. So I always love The Ordinary. This was definitely a huge favorite of the year. And then an overall favorite, like this whole brand I've been so excited about in 2023. It is the new perfume brand at Target, Finery. So they came out with body sprays and perfumes, and they're all intended to be like inspired by higher end fragrances. So I wouldn't say any of these are like identical dupes. I would say they have kind of different vibes to them, but you can tell where the inspiration came from. So they have their body sprays, and then they have actual perfumes. So the body sprays come in plastic bottles and the perfumes are in glass. I have noticed the price point on these varies. So when I'm shopping on Target and it like registers my address from when I was in Michigan, they're I think $12 for these. But then when I change it to like reflect my New York address, they go up to like 15 something. So the price point, you know, for the sprays, it's 12 to 15. And then for the perfumes, it's around 30. Still a great price point either way. So my most used one is probably I'm a Musk. I have used a third of this. I use this so much. And I also love it for layering with other fragrances when I want to combine it. Like I especially like layering this with more like vanilla based fragrances if I want like a vanilla musk vibe. So love this one. I have Jungle Santal, which is supposed to be a dupe for Le Labo Santal 33. Though I would say this, I think is mostly hitting the more woodsy, even like pine type notes in that. I wouldn't say, again, I don't think it's an exact dupe. I think it's very different, but you can smell the inspiration there. And then most recently I got Before the Rainbow. And I think the wear time, naturally, on the perfumes is definitely better than the body sprays, but I think the body sprays still wear pretty well for being a $12 body spray. Like, I've been more than happy with the performance. Those were the best of the best drugstore products of 2023, and stay tuned because my next video is going to be best high-end. So thank you so much for watching. I will see you then. Bye.